my hunchback.
Welcome to Read It and Screech, the podcast.
For anyone who has felt alienated and misunderstood, there's nothing wrong with you. You just need to find your people.
If you're looking for your people, you can sit with us while I give you the Cliff's Notes and the cringiest quotes, and we go screeching all the way. I'm Grace, and this is my co-host, Eva. We're gearing up for Screechmas next month, so stay tuned. We might have some Paddled by Krampus coming your way.
No.
This week we present Blood Orange by Karina Halle. This is one of the smuttiest books I have read this year, which is really saying something. 332 pages. The audiobook was narrated by Arthur Russell and Carolyn Eve. I did not put the timestamp of how long the audiobook was because here's what happened. I had this on my to be read list, my TBR, if you will, my tuber. It didn't have an audio. So it took me a year to read it. And then today when I was getting all the stats on it, it said it had an audiobook and I couldn't stomach that information because it took me so long to read it.
In the meantime? Or
yeah,
did
like
you
very
miss
recently.
Oh.
Like just now it got it. Just now. I literally checked over and over to see if they had an audiobook yet and they didn't. It was horrific. Okay. And it took me 1 calendar year to read it. When I say it took me 1 calendar year, I don't mean like, oh, it took me forever to get to it. I mean, that's how long it took me to functionally read the book, was an entire year. The setting is an arts college in Venice, Italy, and it's dual first-person point of view. The characters are Dahlia and Valtu / Dracula. Oh, by the way, this is supposed to be like a dark Dracula romance.
I'm sorry, that feels redundant.
Yeah. It has been
dark Dracula, light Dracula.
It's been just
Isn't light Dracula just dead in a pile of sand?
It's been described many times as adult Twilight.
Twilight is adult Twilight.
I didn't like regular Twilight.
Fuck off.
So I don't know.
Twilight is widely recognized as a very liked piece of fiction.
I was so pressed to read this, and I think it's because I knew in Twilight they don't B-O-N-E.
They do.
Not enough.
But
Not enough.
they get married, Grace, as it should be.
Not when they're adult enough for me to be comfortable, to be happy.
They
it
were
happened.
adults. What are you talking about?
Not enough.
He was
I
117.
need them to be like late 30s for me to be like, oh, okay.
He was 30 several times. And she was like 21.
I was pressed to read it because I just didn't like the regular one. And I was like, I'm gonna make it happen. 2 characters, Dahlia and Valtu / Dracula.
What's his name?
Valtu.
Mm.
Get used to it. Dahlia is a youngin' witch / vampire slayer. Her parents died when she was young, so she was taken in by a coven that trains special witches who are great at killing vampire men.
Vampire man.
She's been tasked with assassinating Dracula by the leaders of the coven. They don't tell her exactly why he's her target, but she figures it has something to do with this magical book that can open portals to other realms. And then there's Valtu / Dracula, who is an old AF vampire, but he doesn't look a day past 35.
They never do.
He's a professor at the university in Venice, and he specializes in teaching his organ. And he loves to fuck.
Told you.
Teaching the organ and loving. I don't agree at all. I personally have never met a person under the age of 76 who knew how to play the organ.
I've met them, but I do odd things.
Were they homeschooled? So how do you know they love to fuck?
Oh no, I thought you just meant to play the organ. Have I ever met someone under 75 that can play the organ? Yes.
No. Point being,
Do I know if they love to fuck? Don't know.
Well, they have like 47 children, so it starts off strong.
A lie.
No, it does, though. It does. Hold on. Several centuries ago in war-torn Russia.
So now. Current.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
In the now.
Modern days.
Valtu is just a poor boy. Nobody loves him.
Me too.
JK. He is a poor farm boy, but someone does love him. It's the daughter of one of the cruel generals who has been terrorizing the countryside. They hump like animals in this field. After she tells him she's pregnant with his half-vampire baby. Only he didn't know he was a vampire. And he finds out in very poor timing right after her father decapitates her for being a harlot.
Why did he decapitate him?
Because he turned into a vampire and he couldn't die. This sends Valtu into a bloodthirsty spiral, as you can imagine.
You spin me right round.
Fast forward a few hundred years, Valtu has found a way to process his feelings and civilized himself.
Where's the button to fast forward to Russia's next war? Because we know it's going to be here and we don't like this one.
When he sees a sickly Victorian woman who is the identical reincarnation of his first love. She looks exactly like the first one, except haggard.
The other one was like beautiful, like in a field, blushing.
Because she was the general. She was the general's daughter, so she ate really good. Naturally, he seduces and marries her.
Did you marry her?
Mhm.
Damn.
And as luck would have it, she remembers him from all of the past lives.
Oh, so this is like what's it called that I like? That movie that I made Thorne watched 60 times last summer.
I don't know.
Yes, you did. Your husband talked about it. No, it's called
Game of Thrones?
No!
Is it
I'm
Twilight?
talking, I'll think of it.
Or Outlander?
No, goddamn it. It's called, they made a movie on Amazon. And I made everyone watch it.
Except for me, apparently.
I definitely asked you to watch it and you said no.
I don't feel bad about it.
Fallen! It's called Fallen.
We waited this long for you to remember the name of Fallen? Oh my god. This is not that. Thank you. As luck would have it, she remembers him from all of the past lives, or that one past life, but only right before she passes away in childbirth. And the doctors cannot save her because it's the 1800s and they didn't save women who were dying in childbirth back then.
Couldn't, didn't, or couldn't?
Both, I feel.
I think it was couldn't. I don't think it
Couldn't
was,
then, don't now.
right. I don't think it was as much of a choice.
Sorry.
At that
Now
point-
it's a choice.
At that point, it was an intelligence issue or like we haven't
Okay.
learned that far ahead.
So the main story starts off with Dahlia arriving in Italy to enroll in the
So
university.
we had to watch her die 2 times first?
Well, it's kind of throughout the book, but I never make you sit through back and forth, snip, snap, snip, snap. I always do it in chronological order. You're welcome. So the main story starts off with Dahlia arriving in Italy to enroll in the university where Valtu has drowned his sorrows in the sacred halls of academia. Also, he has built a secret hedonistic vampire sex club
That seems more relevant.
right off the library at the school.
Ugh.
As one does.
Ugh.
She has a witchy handler with her who we almost never see and serves almost no purpose in the story.
Perfect.
Dahlia also consequently looks exactly like the other 2 ladies, except less plump as the first and less haggard as the second.
It was like leveling up each time.
The Goldilocks of reincarnations, if you will. This one's too haggard. This one's too plump. This one's just right.
If she dies, she might get a better version the next time. You never know.
Since she's a witch, she has glamored herself for the purpose of hiding her identity from Valtu because vampires can sense assassin witches. Dahlia gets to class and you'll never guess who her professor is.
Yes, I will.
He is way hotter than she could have imagined, and they immediately start making eyes at each other, and she impresses him with her knowledge of old music that no one cares about anymore. After class, Valtu winds down by patronizing his library sex club, where
there are students for him to bone.
where he, quote, feeds from the ass, unquote, of a civilian.
Eject.
Would you
You
like...
better have bitten that, not use a straw. Human caterpillar style, or human centipede.
A human caterpillar is just like an elementary school teacher on the last day of school in a
The
costume.
very hungry caterpillar. The very hungry Valtu.
Would you like the logistics?
No.
Okay. You'd rather just use your imagination.
I already did.
It wasn't the straw. So put your mind at ease. The club uses volunteers who consensually allow the vampires to feed from them because they love that freaky shit. He goes to teach another class straight away after the freaky
After the ass jumping.
after the freaky feeding fest and is immediately horny again for Dahlia. He leers at her in front of the whole class. It's not awkward at all.
A lot.
She plays for him and the whole class the Dracula theme song. He does not find this suspicious at all.
Couldn't be me.
He's like, she couldn't be onto me.
Couldn't be me, man.
She asks him if she can do some extra work after
Can
class.
you chew on my ass? Would that give me a better grade?
And when he doesn't take the bait, she just straight up asks him out and he says no.
Also, all of the quote unquote civilians that go to that club aren't like, weird that the Uber sent me to a school. It's a weird drop off pickup point. Whatever, it's chill though.
It's a weird place to drop a pin.
People in their first year of college are like 8. I was 17 my first year of college. For your 40-year-old man showing up to get your ass chewed at a college sex club. Be so for real.
Why are all these middle-aged women walking into the back of our library?
Does she work here?
You have to have a student badge to,
Right.
to get in.
Swipe in, those little plastic doors don't open. Why are they always
They
walking back
actually
here?
never address that part.
Weird.
Weirdly enough, they cross paths in the library later and fawn over each other, and he takes her into the back room to show her his gigantic
Organ!
book collection.
Oh.
He says he feels like he's met her before but can't place it.
Oh, you can't place your 2 previous dead wives?
He walks her home and kisses her hand and leaves her aching for more.
No! Oh, come on! Again? the greatest sin that I've ever committed. I eat people for a living, but the greatest sin and the only thing that I feel guilt over is leaving her with an ache between her thighs.
Meanwhile, he goes home and reminisces about when he met that sickly Victorian woman. Then he goes to grovel to his friend about his new hot student that he wants to bone and how he's apprehensive about relationships with humans due to his close and personal track record with them dying horrific and tragic deaths.
Yeah, I would be worried about that too, bro.
Oh, yeah. And all the local vampires are experiencing a collective sense of existential dread. Apparently, there's these two siblings that give off notorious incest vibes.
Again, with the Volturi, Dakota Fanning and brother Alec were the two weird, and they gave people weird feelings.
Well, it's literally was supposed to be like a Twilight rift. They have shown back up in town and they appear to be up to no good.
Oh, damn, these meddling kids.
Dahlia's attempts at getting it in with Valtu haven't been successful.
Oh, she can't get her organ in?
No, she can't get her organ played. So she decides to go get some more inside information by astral projecting into his secret club.
She couldn't just dress up in some old lady makeup and let herself in.
I'm just a civilian.
Put on a cheetah print dress and some, 2 to 4 inch Louboutins, a bright red lip.
She's not into that yet.
She'd rather ass project in there. Yeah.
She witnesses Valtu getting the blowiest of all blowjobs that ever blowjobbed.
A lie.
From a homie. And she is again left aching for more.
A male homie or a female homie?
A male homie.
Oh, nice. No notes.
As she thinks if only she could trade places with that homie.
If he wanted you, he would.
Yeah, right. If he wanted to, he would let you. She has such bad blue balls from the magical astral projection she did that she sleeps through the entire next day. She also starts having dreams, premonitions, and flashbacks of her former lives, but she thinks they're just dreams. Valtu shows up at her apartment to check on her after she misses class, which is completely appropriate behavior for a professor who doesn't desperately want to bone his student. They go to dinner and kiss a little, but that's all. Valtu goes home and pines over the plump Russian first love.
That one specifically?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I don't know, Eva.
Okay.
Do I look like Valtu to you? The next day, Dahlia goes to practice on the organ in the campus auditorium.
Practice on the organ?
When Valtu finds her playing, he proceeds to finger her while she plays and does that whole "you belong to me" thing afterwards.
But you belong to me.
They are interrupted by a poor, unsuspecting faculty member, but Valtu vampire Jedi mind tricks them into leaving and pretending there was nothing to see here. Naturally, they go to Valtu's house and fuck all night. She wakes up tied to his bed, but not to worry, it's the sexy kind of tied up and not the murder you for being an assassin who fucked me to get close enough to kill me kind of tied up. She calls him my lord during now and for the rest of the book.
Nope, I reject it.
The next day, Valtu and his friend are summoned by the off-putting siblings/lovers from earlier to come to an offshore condemned mental hospital for some undisclosed business. They are ferried over there by a weird giant creature in a plague doctor mask, but they pay it no mind. Turns out they wanted him to feed from this couple that they kidnapped from a youth group in order to complete a spell with the magical book that Dahlia suspected was the reason for the order to assassinate him. So she's barking up the wrong tree, but there's no one to tell her that. Valtu's friend finds the whole thing very off-putting, but when they get back on the ferry, they just don't speak of it again. Because I guess what happens in an offshore condemned mental hospital stays at the offshore condemned mental hospital. Valtu is also very put off by having been tricked into eating the young adults and decides it's too dangerous to keep fucking around on his student and tells her it's over.
Oh, that's what was the bridge too far?
Yeah. Dahlia won't take no for an answer.
She should.
So she stands outside of his house in the rain until he relents and fucks her out in the open in front of God and everyone.
Girl.
On a pile of oranges.
Oranges?
More specifically, blood oranges.
I got it.
The next morning, he makes her... What do you think he makes her?
Orange juice.
Eggs. While wearing gray sweatpants. Both of those details feel important for some reason. Then he tells her he's a vampire and proves it by stabbing himself in the chest and getting blood all over his living room carpet, while she pretends to be shocked. Then she gives him the blowiest of blowjobs that ever blowjob. TBD if she's as good at it as his homie.
Who's gonna let us know?
They never do. Valtu processes his feelings by pining over the other two ladies some more. Now that Dahlia knows his secret, Valtu is giddy to take her to his secret library sex club. In the club, we all civilians getting our asses fed from.
Why ass of all things?
To show her off to his friends.
Tell me why they're chewing on acid.
And he makes a cringy declaration of how she's Valtu's girlfriend, don't touch. She lets him feed from her on this community sex club bed. And there's this whole thing where he chases her around and then fucks her on the stairs. She loses a lot of blood, but never fear, there's an on-site clinic where they give her blood transfusions without blood typing her, and apparently Valtu is excellent at placing IVs. I mean, that wasn't hard to believe because of the
He's done enough of it?
Yeah. The semester is coming to a close, and so it's time for the end of year recital.
I would love for this to come to a close.
While on the way to perform, Valtu takes her into the office of one of his colleagues and gives her the munchiest of eating out orgasms that ever munchied. And then they do it while incorporating a bow from a nearby violin. Would you like to know logistics?
No, I would not. That's horrific. Don't share with people how to do that. Tell no one.
Never once taking into account that someone will use it later for its intended purpose.
That's immediately what I thought.
She gives the best performance of her life 30 seconds after this debauchery.
Was it with the bow?
She's playing the organ.
Just check it.
And then they all go to this reception where his friend, who happens to be Van Helsing, but he's a vampire, it's a whole thing. He tells her about the plump Russian and sickly Victorian women that tragically died after Valtu fell in love with them. He mentions how weird it is that he can't see through her like vampires usually can. And this causes Dahlia to have the revelation that her weird premonitions and dreams were really flashbacks to her former lives, and she is indeed his reincarnated lover.
Okay.
What's hard to believe about that?
None of those things seem like they were related to each other, but go off.
Because he couldn't see her, because he can't see through her glamour, so that's why he never noticed it was her.
He literally said, I recognize you.
He couldn't place her from. Couldn't be from being married to her twice.
Jesus.
As you can imagine, this has put her in a very awkward position as the witch who is tasked with assassinating him. She decides that instead of telling him the truth, she will go home and give him some real good lovin'.
She recognizes him. She don't give a fuck.
Right. She's hoping that maybe one good fuck with her magic pussy will reveal all.
Golden gooch.
She is unfortunately mistaken. Despite the earth-shattering orgasms had by all, Valtu still assumes that she's just a regular human woman with spectacular puss.
Woman. I mean, I assumed that. Thanks for letting me know.
The next day, he has some friends over for a holiday dinner.
What kind of a holiday dinner are you having? We know it's ass. Holiday dinner, a holiday meal. Ass is on the menu. The only thing you talked about eating this whole time. Ass and eggs.
Turns out that his homie's lady friend is a vampire witchpire, whatever, who immediately knows who Dahlia is. Not as the lost lady love. So the witchpire takes Dahlia aside and tells her that she knows her secret, and Dahlia tries to explain everything about being his reincarnated one true love, but the friend isn't having it because Dahlia is a fucking murderess. Valtu finds them arguing in the kitchen, and the friend totally blows up her spot, telling him that Dahlia is an assassin clearly sent to kill him. He is shocked and slightly embarrassed and proceeds to strangle her while the friend chants an incantation to lift the glamour that was hiding the fact that Dahlia was his reincarnated lover. Right as he realizes who she truly is, the last glimmer of light and life leave her eyes as she dies. The end.
He murders I hope she doesn't get back with him any other time she shows back up. You, sir, are a domestic violence murderer.
The epilogue is 21 years later.
Damn it!
She has been reincarnated again, this time as a vampire.
Ah!
So fingers crossed for these crazy kids this time around.
Call the police.
And I read the first bit of the sequel, and it's this really, really cringe...
Oh, no way.
Like beginning where all the memories flood back to her as soon as she turns 21. And she has to go tell her parents, hey, mom and pop, I have been in every lifetime having wild animal sex.
Alternatively, don't tell them that.
With this older guy. And I also want to know, you know how it's so disgusting when like a 500-year-old fae is like, I love a 19-year-old.
So disgusting, the end.
Does it count if she's technically like 80 now?
But she's not.
Like, does each of her ages add up?
She's not.
But she has the memories of being.
She has a memory. She's not. Like, if you believe in reincarnation, technically you're the reincarnated version of somebody. How old are you right now?
The sickly Victorian woman, she lived to be like mid-20s.
Answer the question I just asked.
What did you say?
If you believed in reincarnation, then technically you would be the reincarnation form of someone right now. How old are you?
Who knows? Hundreds.
Therefore, you can bone anybody at any age. There you go.
Well, that answered my question. It wasn't the worst book we've read this year by any stretch. Honestly, it's probably like number 2. I think the one of last week was not bad at all. It was good. The one where he was nice to her and stuff. He didn't like abuse her and stuff. And like there was the thing with the rat and the pocket.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that.
The pocket rat. This was as good at least as that one. And that one was pretty good. It did have plot in addition to the smut. smut, but I would say the smut took like 40% of the book. It took up so much. And like when he's like, turn around, I'm going to feed from your ass. It was like,
I told you. That's inappropriate.
okay, quick fiction fix. Are there 3 things you'd fix? I would have him not murder her at the end. I would do something like she could have died a different way.
I don't love the weird sex club at the school.
Where would you have put it? Would you put it somewhere else?
If he had to have it, are we not allowed to get rid of it?
Where else would he have gotten the blowjob from the homie?
A public restroom where every other upstanding citizen gets them.
From a glory hole. So you'd get rid of the sex club.
I said I would move it. I didn't say I would get rid of it.
Okay, you'd move the sex
If
club.
you have to have it, I would move it to a bar or something.
Okay, would
Be
you
attached to a bar like a regular person.
would you have him not murder her? Or would you keep that in?
It depends. If that was the only way,
It's kind of a fun ending.
Your only vehicle to get to the next book,
Okay.
and you had to keep it.
So you'll let her keep it.
Weird. I probably would have had someone else murder her.
Okay, so have someone else. Yeah, right. Have someone else do it.
Like, have the friend do it. Have the friend be like, witch! For her to say.
But she was also a witch.
Right,
So you couldn't do that.
You're more of a witch because I'm a half.
I'm a witch pyre. Okay.
I'm
have
a
someone
fire. Maybe you'll come back as like one of me.
have someone else do the deed. Move the club.
I would quit having her chase down
You
a
wouldn't.
dick down.
No, you have taken out.
No, what would you? No one's asking what would you take out. Nobody cares.
I'm disappointed you missed one. You missed something. Can I share? Okay. The bow
What I just said.
from the violin.
What I just said.
No, that just encapsulates it.
Oh God. Say
She
now.
never would have gotten her memories back if he did not fuck her like a wild animal, like he's done in
She wasn't,
all
like,
lives
on every
past.
surface.
Okay, so those 3.
Oh my God! I can't breathe. This is
She was too horny.
for someone she's supposed to be assassinating. Not great at that job,
She
are
was
we?
too horny, which I feel she should have known about herself before she got there.
Right. Know your limit.
Like I am aggressively attracted to vampires. Thank you for listening to Read It and Screech. If you'd like to support us, oh my effing G, you can rate, review, and subscribe. We can tell that you haven't. I'm just gonna say we can tell.
We can tell that you're watching
you
in the
haven't.
shadows.
You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Read It and Screech Podcast.